Hello class, my name is Brandon, and for my final project, the ritual that I will be talking about today is going to be my oil changes. I have a very specific process for it, and at least for me, I don't feel comfortable with how my car drives afterwards if I don't do it this exact way. As well as my personal superstition is simply, I feel like I have to look at the parts, and I believe that looking and inspecting every part makes them last longer, and it just gives me more peace of mind, even though I know that probably doesn't make a difference. But as you can see, I have my costume on as well as lots of props here. So let's begin with the first step, which is going to be obviously taking the cover off of my car. So to begin, I will be doing this on my 2010 Chevy Camaro SS. I've been doing oil changes in this sort of ritualistic way since I was about 16. A lot of it comes from my dad, and he taught me how to do it, and so I picked it up and I've been doing it ever since. To cover some of my props, we have things like oil, jack stands, different tools for removing different parts, which we'll get into later. But first step is going to be popping the hood open, and then we can go from there. Now with the hood open, this car has a V8 engine. And the first step to changing the oil is always going to be removing the oil cap. I always place it here, and then I always check two things from here. We're going to check the condition of the belts. This is the main one. And then we also have the condition of the air filter, which needs to be cleaned, and I almost always clean it. So we're going to quickly remove that. Now to clean the air filter. Now that it's been washed out, we're going to use plenty of this cleaner and give it a second wash. And then once it's done, we're going to leave it out to dry, and later it will be oiled. And now we're going to leave that to dry and go get the car lifted up. And now that the car is in the air, next step is to put on gloves, because there are a couple more inspections I have to do before we get underneath to actually drain the oil. And the next inspection that we have is going to be for the front wheels. So there are lots of bushings in there, and we're going to check a couple of them. The way to check if they're worn out is you grab the wheel and try to steer it yourself to see if it has any movement in it. Then we're going to check down, which is our lower bushing, and then on this car you have to grab the top and bottom corner here, and we do check. Now I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side, but I'm going to skip ahead to underneath. So now that we are underneath the car, before we are going to actually drain the oil, I'm going to come over here, check and make sure my suspension is not leaking. Do the same on the other side, and I can confirm that one is also not leaking. Then we're going to come over, check the same thing for the cooler here, and then we can move on to actually draining the oil. Although it's a little dirty, nothing's actually leaking, so we're good on that part. And so now we can take our ratchet and socket and break that loose, and then we are going to remove the drain plug. Now, one of the reasons that we removed the cap from the top before is so that this doesn't glug, and we can get a nice smooth oil stream. Keep twisting until you feel the thread skip, which there should be in a moment. And I think I can feel it right there. Little bit of a drip going on the bottom, but everything's landing in the pan. Now we're just going to set this off to the side, and I always set a timer for 15 minutes and let it drain so that I know everything has gotten out of the engine, even once it starts just barely dripping out. well. And then next, I like to pre-fill my oil filter before it goes in the car, which we are going to do right now. And we rub oil right on the inner gasket. Now I can set this underneath to be installed. Now we tighten it as tight as we can get it by hand. That's all it needs. Now that that's done, we can come back and give the air filter its oiling now that it has dried out. Perfect, and then we are going to reinstall that. And the last step is to just simply fill it back up. All right, and that is my whole process. It's not extremely complicated, but it's what I have to do every time for me to feel comfortable, and I feel like I have more faith in my car knowing that I'm looking at all of the parts and that I feel it really does make them last longer. But I hope you guys enjoyed.